Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say thank you everybody for taking the time out. I know you're all very busy, so it's, I do really appreciate this, and I hope that you do benefit from this. Please do let me know if my mic plays up, because it has been playing up recently. So if I start to sort of fade, just give me a nudge and I'll start to speak a bit louder, or probably just knock my laptop to get it to work. But for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jamila Bi, and I'm the Legacy Coordinator for Archery GB. So my role is to increase participation, increase diversity, and coordinate, retain activities within the West Midlands, primarily focused in the Birmingham area. I'm also an instructor and a level 1 coach, and recently have established our own club called Crescent Archers, which you may or may not be aware of. But yeah, so tonight's meeting, it's a small number. Please feel free to just turn off your mics and jump in. Any questions, please do pop in the chat, and myself, Helen, or Gail will answer those throughout the night tonight. Really, sort of what we're going to be covering tonight is just an overview of Start Archery Week and how we all got on, if you did take part, and any stories that you'd like to share, and also an overview of our recent events that have been happening in the West Midlands. We've got much to tell you, and our future projects that will be happening. And really appreciate this. What we're hoping that, or what I'm trying to achieve, is as a network for coaches, instructors, anybody who wants to be involved within the West Midlands, and how we can support each other. We have got a fantastic few events lined up, and it would be absolutely amazing if you can support in those. There's also the AIP that you've probably had a brief mention. We're going to be covering that tonight, and just really an informal discussion on how we can support you and on your journeys into archery, whether it's through Archery GB, how we can support local clubs, or if you've got any events, or a lack of support in your own clubs or establishment, how we can sort of work together and achieve the best that we can provide, because it is all about the community. For me, I work pretty much within the community, so I'm very much sort of community focused. And Becky, it's great to hear the work that you're doing, because it kind of aligns with the work that I do and the recent events that I've been covering, and possibly in the future. So to hear somebody who's already in that environment, it's fantastic, because it just means that we can sort of create this group and a networking group, and create a stronger workforce. Now that Gail's done her instructors, she's available, Becky. So if you need a hand, no, yeah, it is just getting to know each other. And I know that there's some people that weren't able to attend tonight, so this video recording will be shared with them, and also will be on the we'll put it on YouTube for those of you who want to sort of go back. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. Just bear with me. Okay. So this is tonight's agenda. We've done the introductions, Start Archery event discussions, and overview of our recent and future events, and what our next steps are. And overall, like I said, we want to hear from you. I do want to hear any stories throughout the chat. Just please feel to jump in. I'm going to start straight in with our Start Archery Week, which was fantastic. Now, I'm going to be talking about what I've done. Nationally, I think we've had 100, and Helen, if you can jump in, I think it's 100.
105.
Yeah, 106. Yeah. we are still counting, so we have got some people still sending in the evaluations, but at the moment it is 105 Start Archery events that we've got feedback from. Overall, I think it went pretty well. Certainly my Start Archery Week events, I had various projects throughout Birmingham, and we had just over 100 people try archery, and it was really fantastic to see. And again, you know, we had coaches from other clubs, volunteers who'd come in to help support us, which is really nice. And recently, Helen's going to be also discussing the event, especially when it comes to disabilities. But from my point of view, I recently, I'm working alongside many organisations and formed quite a lot of partnerships with schools, with organisations such as mosques, madrasas, partnerships with scouts, cadets. So overall, you know, I cover a large, broader area. And recently, last week in particular, we did a couple of sessions for the deaf community. It went really well. We had over 30 individuals with additional needs that with the support of the establishment and the volunteers, it turned out to be really successful, and we had such positive feedback from them. And from the last webinar, you know, we did discuss that we wanted, coaches did say, and the feedback was that, you know, we want more training in you know, in dealing with disabilities, which is why Gail is going to be talking about the AOP a bit later on tonight. We had 30 adults, 13 young people take part. And as you can see, some of them didn't try archery before, so it was completely new environment for them. But they, you know, fantastically, they had a brilliant day, a memorable day, and we're hoping that we can sustain these. But again, it is the work of the volunteers that go behind it. So recently, we also are in partnerships with Street Games. It's an organisation, and we did touch up on this briefly on the last webinar, is developing an urban archery kit. We have started that process. We had our last week, we had our first session, so it was really successful. We were expecting about 12 young people, but in the end we had over 20 young people taking part in this project. This project will continue for another, I think overall another 3 months, until we can actually designate the right feedback to then develop our urban archery equipment that will be hopefully be used by many age brackets of early teens. So it is mainly targeted for schools or areas where, you know, we all know archery is, especially outdoors, it's very limited in inner cities. So we do want to now develop an urban archery that can fit in establishments, and it's completely safe to use. The SVI is a visually impaired group that me and Helen are working on. Helen is going to touch up on that a bit more, but it's a great group up in Sandwell in Birmingham, and they want to have archery in their establishment. Some of the members have done archery before, some of them haven't, so it's completely new to them. And again, we've had I think Tony's not able to join us tonight, but he really did help out at the first ever session that we did, and we hope to continue that for them. And also the current project is the Holidays in Food programme. Becky, I'm not sure, you might be aware, might not, but it's a government funded, so Department of Education fund that, and it is targeted for children on free school meals that wouldn't normally get the opportunities to do activities because of the cost of living these days. It's, you know, what we're finding is that a lot of parents are having to take children out of these extracurricular activities because of the cost. So this is a great initiative that provides children with activities throughout the day and food. So it takes a lot of pressure off parents. So that's going to be run over 4 weeks. I will be delivering that. I've delivered 3 so far, and out of the 3, we've always had over 90, between 93 and 96% attendance rate. And the parents, the families that have, you know, registered the first ever, they tend to come back. And we've also got blind games, which is coming up in August. So really excited about that one, and hope that, you know, you do have some sort of capacity or are willing to be involved in that in some way, form or another. We will be discussing that. Helen's going to be talking about that, but that's a great it's just great to be involved in if we can. So I'm just going to stop sharing. Any questions? No. I'm going to give it to Helen. If you want to just talk a bit more about the SVI.
Yeah. And did you want me to do the Start Archery, just a real quick overview as well?
Yeah. If we can.
Okay.
I mean, if anybody's got any, did anybody host Start Archery Week?
Not here, I don't think today. No, but I'm sure everyone's sort of familiar with with some of it. Just to give you a bit more of a flavour, it's super quick. So we're now in our 11th year, so it's really evolved since it began. And there are clubs that have done it nearly all the way through, or certainly for many years. I don't think there's anyone that's done it every year. And there are clubs that have kind of joined in the last sort of 2, 3, 4 years or so. And every year we get more and more people giving it a try for the very first time. It is the one event in the year we all join together for. So a real encouragement to think about making sure that groups and clubs that you're involved in factor it in really early in your diary planning for next year, really. So this year, just a moment. We had, as Jamila said earlier, I think we had 105 events. They're not all at clubs, so it's a really lovely opportunity just to celebrate archery, really, and to draw. One of the good things about it is we can draw the media's attention to archery, because it is happening in so many different places, which is why we encourage more and more clubs and organisations to get involved every year. So maybe something for you to think about taking back to where you're delivering archery. A good spread all over the country, as you see, and just a selection of kind of some of the lovely pictures. Obviously we've got way too many to highlight them all, but I think from the screen you sort of see a different kind of flavour: inside, outside, soft archery, disabilities, all ages, all genders, all backgrounds. So a really inclusive event. So a real strong encouragement to think about getting involved. And the way that we evaluate that every year is the thing that makes it special is all that feedback comes in afterwards, so that we can say to people, look, this is the impact of the week. Last year, over 8,000 people took part. And as Jamila said earlier, we're just in that kind of information gathering stage at the moment, and we hope to be able to put together the data, and we will share that, so all the membership will get to hear about it, and you can look through that, and maybe that might encourage you for next year as well. Dave, we're just getting a little bit of feedback, I think, off your mic. I'm sorry to ask, but is it all right if we ask you to pop yourself on mute just a minute, or it's coming from somewhere, I'm not sure where, but thank you, everybody. Okay, so what we will do when we've got the data is we will put this year's data onto that kind of graph and plot the trends, and that also helps us to be able to go to sponsors and maybe attract some more sponsorship in, and that helps us give more support to organisers and clubs next year. So Jamila mentioned the have a go at, well, a taster event actually at Somewell Visually Impaired, SVI. We have a good link with this community group now, and really taking this opportunity to learn. So in terms of visually impaired archery, obviously there are people in archery who know what they're doing, been shooting a while, shooting competitions, etc. But for someone who perhaps just wants to give archery a go, where do they begin? How do they get into the sport? So as SVI approached us and asked if we could help them to do some archery, we have asked if we can kind of partner with them, use this as a learning opportunity really, and they're really keen for that. So we had the one taster day, pictures on the screen, but we have another taster day on the 22nd of June as well. After that, we're going to be running a beginners course, and that'll be every week in September onwards. And we are looking for coaches to partner with us and to help run that beginners course. It is always daytimes because the group meets in a daytime and their room booking is daytime. And I appreciate that rules a lot of people out straight away. But if you're interested, then just let me know. So that's one opportunity where you could get involved. And we are looking for licensed coaches for that event. But as Jamila mentioned earlier as well, quite nicely leads on to the IPSA World Games. So the UK are hosting the IPSA World Games, the blind games this year, and we have chosen to include archery as a nation. Archery is not always included, and it's certainly not very often hosted in the UK, and it is in Birmingham. So it is an amazing opportunity right on our doorstep to get involved. And we have been asked to get involved in two ways, basically. On the Friday, the top right picture is the picture, if you're familiar with campus on the University of Birmingham, is their sort of central square. And we are going to be in area 2 with an arrows or a kind of interactive area where we can also give information about archery. And I think to sign up for a real have a go on the next day, on the Saturday morning. So we'd love helpers to come and talk to people. We're expecting a lot of people on the Friday, so great promotional opportunity. And then on the next day, as I say, on the Saturday, we will be using the athletics track, which is marked on the map there in top right corner, to do a have a go, a real archery have a go. Now, this will be obviously for athletes, coaches, spectators, family members, friends, supporters of people at the World Games, but it's also being heavily promoted to the community around Birmingham. So for people coming in to watch the games, they may want to have a go as well. There may be people who are visually impaired, people who are sighted, people who have other disabilities. So a real mixture and a really good opportunity for us to join together and to run that have a go at the athletics track. The targets will all be set up for us, so we can just run a simple have a go up there at the athletics track. So the idea is that we use the Friday to tell people about it, because otherwise they won't know that we'll be at the athletics track the next morning. There will be still events happening on the Saturday and the Sunday, so there should still be plenty of people around to attract to the athletics track. But Friday is the real promotional day. And what we might do is sign people up to kind of 20-minute slots, so we can manage the flow of people coming up to the athletics track. So it'd be lovely again to have your help. And you see the dates on screen. That's Friday the 25th of August and Saturday the 26th of August. And Jamila, I think you've put together a sign-up form to help. And that's on Google. You're just on mute at the moment, sorry.
I will put that in the chat. So it is just an expression form at the moment. So as we get, more collective data, we'll then be in contact. You don't have to be a coach, even just to volunteer. That would be a fantastic opportunity. So I'll put that in the chat.
Thank you.
It is just a simple form. Thanks, Evan.
I think that is all. Yeah, so I'll hand back to you. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, so a lot of opportunity to be involved in, especially with the blind games, and also with disabilities. Like Helen has said, that there is a visually impaired group that want the beginner course to be delivered. There is also the deaf community that I'm working with. They are also very much interested in having a similar setup. So yeah, it would be great if we can get something in place for them, and it might mean in the future that they can run them themselves. Somebody might want to train up to be a coach or an instructor for have a goes when they feel like. But yeah, it's it's something that I'm quite passionate about, because archery should be inclusive, and this is just, it showcases just how inclusive archery can be. So that's, that is why we're heading, and I think that is the more or less, the whole webinar tonight. It's about inclusivity. So I'm going to pass it on to Gail to talk about the AIP. But if there's any questions or anything at all, please feel free to just turn off your mic and have it's a really informal webinar tonight. So just pop in and just either have a chat, or just put your hand up, or just turn off your mics and go for it. Go on, Pete.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if you've done this already, but it might be worthwhile emailing all the coaches across the West Midlands and nearby counties to let them know about these days, because I might have missed an email about that. If you've mentioned it before, it might be worthwhile sending out a few, because the wider you throw the net, the more chance of people coming along.
No, thank you. That's great. That's really good. We've made a note of that. I think Helen's doing the same. I'm doing the same. So yeah.
Yeah, one of the other things we were mentioning earlier is if anyone here had some events that they wanted to equally share, or if you need any help with any community events, then please let us know as well, because we really want this to be a collaboration group. So
yeah, or any experience that you want to share that you've come across.
Yeah, I mean,
in our club. Sorry, go on, Pete.
No, all I was going to say is that I've recently taken over as the CCO for Worcester, and I'm kind of reaching out to all the clubs that are in Worcester and trying to visit as many as I can and meet as many of the coaches. And what I've been saying to all of them, if they're struggling to get coaches to run beginners courses, or if they've got enough coaches but they drop out last minute, or they're ill or whatever, then I don't mind coming out to help as a kind of one-off now and again. So and that goes to everybody. If you've got beginners courses or whatever and you're short of people, I don't mind coming to help out a bit now and again, not all the time.
Thanks, Pete. I was going to say, can we book you now?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I just wanted to share, in our club, our chairman Paul has been working with an individual who's got an acquired brain injury, and he's been teaching him to shoot using his mouth. It's very impressive, and the guy's worked really well. But I've got some lovely videos of that Tim, the young gentleman with the brain injury, is happy for us to share and use, which I think is absolutely amazing, and shows just how inclusive archery can be.
Yeah, it'd be really good to follow that up, Becky, and I'll pop back along and see that sometime. That would be really good. Yeah, please.
Oh, you really should. He's amazing. He shot all golds on a 20-yard last week using his mouth.
Nice.
Fantastic. I was in utter amazement.
Yeah, just while I remember, I think last year at Lillyshaw, I think Aaron ran a coaching people with disabilities course, which is really good for a day. So I don't know if AGB are going to set that up again.
Well, that is a seamless link, so thank you very much for that, Peter. We're organising an Activity Alliance Inclusive Activity Programme workshop. So that will take place on the 17th of June at Acker's Adventure in Small Heath in Birmingham. And it will be great if you could all come. Good opportunity for CPD points as well. So the workshop is actually 3 hours. So that's going to take place 2:30 till 5:30. There's also an e-learning module that you would need to do first, and that would probably take about an hour. we also thought it was a fantastic opportunity to actually meet in person and spend some time together. So we thought we could sort of meet at 10:30, just have a little catch up, share good practice, get to know each other in person, and have some lunch together, and then do the inclusive activity programme in the afternoon. We have put a charge on of £10, but it will be, you know, really sort of strongly subsidised, I was going to say substituted then, by Archery GB. We thought this was a good starting point. This is sort of like generic training, and then we can organise some specific sort of Archery GB disability training later on, or specific around VI archery, or, you know, sort of other forms of disabilities. Has anyone, yeah, I know Peter, you've signed up, so thank you very much for doing that. Is anyone else interested in the workshop?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested. Do you need to be a coach in order to attend?
No, I don't think so. I think if you're happy to help and volunteer, then it would, yeah, be great to have you there. I think, yeah, any knowledge is power, isn't it? It's our superpower.
Absolutely, Becky.
Great,
I mean,
thank
you know, even if you're not a coach, it is open to everybody, because you may want to train up as a coach in the future, and you've got, or you might just be a helper, you know, helping out and come across somebody with a disability. But so you know, you've got that experience.
Fab, thank you.
I'll put the link in the chat box as well for you to book on.
Thank you.
Were there any kind of questions about the IAP, or thoughts, or your reaction to it? Just feel free to chat. Any more thoughts?
Pete, was the course you mentioned, was that the adaptive devices?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I couldn't think of the title of it on the spur of the moment, but yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Aaron sort of had a meeting recently with the tutors, so we are trying to sort of organise a few more of those workshops, but we thought this one was a good starting point, that it was sort of more around sort of the generic disability support.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds interesting. Yeah, I'll come along.
Brilliant, fantastic.
Anything
Thank you
for a free lunch.
yeah. No pressure then, we better get a good one.
Well, I live in Dudley, so it's literally, you know, 10 mile away or something, so got no excuse really.
Yeah, I'm Wolverhampton, part of the Black Country.
Austin.
No, that's great, thank you. Is there anybody who'd like to share any sort of case studies or any experiences that they've had with disabilities, or what you would, you know, what you would want out of this, you know, this webinar and this networking group? It's good for us to know how we can sort of support you in your organisation or your club.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I have been here, but my
Hello.
has been messed about. I hate to say it, crossbows as opposed to bows. They're very easy to handle for quite a lot of people, much easier than bows. They achieve the same result in some ways, but they do have some advantages. I've only ever used low-powered crossbows because actually they terrify me. But that might be another way for people to get into it if they have problems handling the bow itself, which is quite a tricky beast for some people.
Yeah, that is true. I do know of people that would come and help us to learn about low-powered crossbows, and one person with a particular personal story of how it's enabled her after an injury to keep shooting. If it's of interest to the group, then we could build that into a future session together.
Yeah, that'd be good. Thank you.
Is there? Yeah, are the others interested in that as well? Is that?
Yeah.
I think that is it Nuneaton Bedworth Archery Club with the Bedworth one. I think they have a crossbow section. Whether that be of anybody there with any help at all.
Yeah, that's a good thought, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there other areas of training or interest that you'd really love to delve into?
I suppose on that front, I mean, work with archers with disabilities. So the ones that come on our beginners courses, there's been sort of obviously or severely kind of disabled. It's more like you know, limited range of movement, that type of thing, either through age or sport injuries, and that type of stuff. And the other one occasionally is kind of hidden disabilities, you know, like learning disabilities, because people aren't often willing to come forward with that type of stuff. So yeah. it can be tricky to kind of suss people out to when you're in a beginner's course to be confident to pitch things at the right level, so that you're not kind of insulting them, but you're not. So any kind of training around that would be useful, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry,
yeah, sorry, I was going to say, I think the inclusive activity program training will really help with that. It sort of gives you like 10 principles, yeah, how to communicate. So I think that would, yeah, this workshop on the 17th would be ideal for that.
Yeah, that'd be good. That's why I've signed up, because
brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, I think to touch up on what Pete's just said, it is really difficult sometimes to get that information before they're actually on the line, and it's always useful to sort of have some sort of knowledge, whether it's from the participant or you're training from, you know, yourself on how to deal with somebody who does need additional needs and a one-to-one, so you can support them. I'm not sure, Becky, if you've had much experience and what you want. It would be great to hear from you about any experience that you've shared or you've come across.
So not so much really kind of in archery. We have a small group of young adults with diagnosis of autism who come and access our range, but that is kind of through one of our archers who also works with them, and it's a bit complicated. But in terms of kind of long-term shooting, we have a couple of individuals with physical disabilities, and obviously Tim, who's just phenomenal. But in terms of that's kind of really the only disability kind of support we have at the moment. It's something that we'd like to increase and something we'd like to work on a lot. Not just kind of inclusivity of disabilities, but just diversity in the club in general. And it's something that as a committee we're kind of focused on at the moment.
It was really interesting when I did the session over with the deaf community. The feedback that I got was it was quite overwhelming to actually hear, because they almost feel like a lost community, and it was, you know, when I turned up and after they had the session, it was really nice to hear that. To hear from them, but it made me realize that it's very difficult for them to get into a sport. You know, and archery, it's fantastic. It's very inclusive, but for me, it's opening up these opportunities, not just for the ethnic diverse minorities, but to people with disabilities, and making it more accessible for them. One of the stories that I was speaking to two people after the session was that it's never been offered to them, which is really sad. But it's always something that they've tried in school and wanted to sort of progress, but they find it very difficult for clubs and for just generally organisations to offer the sport. So it's a way forward, and to start taking small steps and really create that awareness to say that we are inclusive. Archery is everybody's welcome, and this this AIP, if you can make it, would be fantastic. and it's a step
Can I
forward.
just ask, when you did the session with the deaf community, did you have a
Yes.
BSL translator?
Yes, we had 3 translators there, but what I found is, again, what Pete said, it was sometimes it's difficult to gauge. It's not just a deaf person, but they can have additional needs on top of that. So autism, ADHD, and this training will be really useful. But yes, we did have 3 interpreters, a lip reader, because it was really difficult for me, because I'm so used to sort of speaking, but you have to then really slow down so that they can hear, either lip read you or can understand you. But yeah, it's about getting in that environment and training up to be able to offer these sessions. But yes.
Just an anecdote on the deaf side of things. I worked in Canada for a while, and sorry, I'm kind of stealing your time a little bit, but
No.
I worked in Canada for a while, and I was sharing a house with a woman that worked with the deaf. So she set up a barbecue for deaf people to come, and of course they're all really good at lip reading and all of this type of stuff. But of course, me being from the Black Country and then being Canadian, they'd never seen Black Country accent before. And so they couldn't really lip read me, and so
Yes.
so they went over to the woman, and said, kind of, is there something wrong with that guy? We can't lip read him. And they went, no, just got a different accent. But obviously they didn't get the concept of accents. Just a slight aside.
Yeah. Well, when I went in there, it really made me aware that having some sort of knowledge on sign language would be really helpful. So I did pick up a few things, so that's thank you, and that's a big thank you. And for children, it was like collect. So it's being in that environment, you pick things up. And yeah, I was almost, it was a training opportunity for myself. And they're really, really supportive. So that could possibly, we could maybe, if there's interest there, we can do something with sign language.
Just to add to that, I'm in the process of training as a Makaton tutor. And what I did when I was a swimming instructor was I used and ran swimming specific Makaton sessions. So it's something that we could either contact a Makaton trainer, or something when I'm trained up, we could have specific archery based sign sessions that we can run and share with individuals who might want to come and join the club. So
what's Makaton? I'm showing my ignorance.
Oh no, sorry, no. Makaton is an adapted version of British Sign Language that is often used with children and adults with disabilities who can't necessarily understand all of British Sign Language, but need some sort of additional communication aid.
Sure, thanks.
That sounds really interesting, Becky. Yeah, definitely. And that I think there are some people that are sort of developing the kind of common signs in archery that would be really useful. Even if you've got nothing but those few signs, you've made an effort. You have some sort of basics, and it makes such a difference, doesn't it, to people? So there's lots of things that we can kind of push into. I'll drop the write-up that SVI did as well, just in case anyone wants to read that as well. But there are so many diverse avenues really that we can go down, and the IAP covers as much as it can, which is a really important place to start. That's why we thought that would be a good place to start from. But it is a launch pad off into kind of more specialist areas, I would say, because the IAP won't be archery specific, which allows us to talk about approach to everyone, to the individual in front of you, basically. So that would be a really great place to start from. But please do let us know if you've got interests in certain areas, or if you've got contacts or people that you have come across or have heard of, because I think that would be really, really important as well. We are also exploring for British Blind Sport to run a training day for us as well, again in the Birmingham area, so that we can more effectively work with those that maybe aren't completely blind but have sight loss as well. but you know, you may not have ever taught someone who's completely blind, because they may feel like they can't just approach your club. We'd love to change that around, but we often come across people with sight loss. So yeah.
Unless your guests are.
I don't think that's for us. That's fine. Okay. Did anyone have an area that they wanted to ask about, or any experiences?
I remember it was must be 20 years ago when a severely blind, a school for the severely blind came to one of the events that I was working at, and we gave them an opportunity to shoot our bows, and they were so overwhelmed by the thought they could step outside of their own rather limited existence as far as they could touch and feel, and suddenly they were hitting targets 10 yards away and hear the sound of the arrow hitting the mark, and the smiles on their faces made the whole weekend actually worthwhile, just them. And I think if we can do that, it'll be brilliant.
Yeah.
Give people a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Jamila, you obviously experienced that, didn't you, at coaching at the SBI group?
Yes, certainly. But it made me realise that, yeah, like I said before, they just feel they're not part of the community, or they don't fit in. That's the sort of vibe that I got. But yeah, it was the quotes that I mean, I'll possibly on the next meeting let you know the report of that, but we are still ongoing we are doing these sessions on a regular basis. We're hoping to do at least once a month, but again, it's trying to establish the AIP. This will really benefit a lot of people, I hope, and also we want to increase that and get on to sign language. I mean, that's something that I would personally, as my own personal development, like to go down. And Becky, yeah, that'd be great if we can sort of team up, and you can let me know, because I think it's quite difficult to learn, like you said, the whole version of the British Sign Language, especially if you're a beginner. So the Makaton version, that would really work.
There is it
Yeah,
also.
that's really fine. Just drop me an email.
Sorry, Becky. I was also going to say there's UK deaf sport as well, that we've kind of building a relationship as well, and they've got some specific training, so we can look at that in future too.
Anybody else wants to share or discuss anything else that they might like out of this group?
I think I'd like some more information on teaching people with autism, which I know is some people can be more affected than others. I've been about 18 months. I've been coaching somebody with autism who did meet quite a bit of resistance when she first joined the sport, but she's now come out of that, been doing very well indeed. But it's been a bit of a learning curve for me. So I would actually like to be pointed in a direction. I know you can read a lot of information about it, but something more on the practical side would be perhaps a bit more useful to me as a coach, you see. I know there's different stages of autism. Some people are, not affected more than others, but I think for coaches it would be very useful, because even in my own club, last few years we've had more and more youngsters coming in who have got autism, where years ago we never sort of met anybody with it, So I think a bit more information on that side would be very, very useful.
As a starting point, I can ask the tutor at the IAP course if they've got any specific information around autism, and then yeah, they might be able to signpost us to other organisations too. So yeah, I'll email her.
Yeah, thank you.
We've got 4 people signed up now, so that's great.
Yeah, sign me up. I think you probably met lots of people with autism. It's just they didn't know they were, and we didn't know they were. I've certainly taught kids, so I think we'd probably come under that heading these days for archery.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Yeah.
On autism, I had an interesting experience. I can't remember how long ago it was, some years ago, where Stratford was asked for some people to go over to the Banbury Autism School on a Thursday, and I went over with actually with a retired school teacher, and I was amazed how they picked things up. And our coaching organizer at Stratford, her son's autistic, and I know him well, and he's good. And it's amazing when he trains like this, but when he shoots like that, which is absolutely amazing. And he knows where he's shooting the arrow, whether it's 40 yards or 50 yards, and it's going in the target. But the one big thing that this lady said at Stratford to me was, yeah, you talk to him about something, it rattles around for 2 or 3 days and it finds a slot, and that's his mum. That's not being nasty. And I found that at this autism school that I needed to talk to one of the lads about relaxing the bow arm shoulder. And I had a chat to him at the end of the one session. I said, I'll talk to you about that next time. Believe it or not, his shoulder was relaxed when he started to shoot the next time. It was in the right position. And all I'd done is given him a suggestion of what we needed to work on. And I've actually also had the experience with a blind archer who came to Stratford, and we had a chat, and he needed a stand. I actually built his stand from scratch. And there is a download you can have off the World Archery. I'm trying to think of the guy's name, but he was a county coach a long time ago. And I got his stand built. His wife was his helper, but I learned so much about dealing with blind from this guy. And I even went round to his house and took photographs of him standing in his stand. And they went into a presentation that I gave during the level 1 courses between 213 and it might not have been 213, but certainly up to 219 when the original level 1 courses stopped. But yeah, that was part of it. And I've got permission to show these pictures of him in the stand. And also guiding them around a room. It's absolutely amazing that they touch your elbow and you lead them, and they've got one hand on your elbow. And this is the waiting line. Mine, there's some ground quivers down here, and this is the shooting line, and this is where the targets are, and this is where the walls are, and you're walking them all around. And within 10 minutes, they can walk around. And it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I think we experienced that, didn't we, Helen? When we did the SVI, yeah. It was amazing, Peter, because it's yes, they are visually impaired, but their senses, the other senses, are much more stronger, and they're much more aware. But yeah, it was incredible to see and experience myself.
There's certainly, I think, will be members off the back of that beginners course that would like to carry on. And that's going to be the big question for us. Where do people who can't drive themselves to a club go and shoot that live in the Sandwell area? And how are we going to support them to continue? So we've got a while to think about that. But yeah, we've already got 6 people signed up to a beginners course, and I've no doubt we'll get more from the next taster. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting journey, certainly.
One small point, back in 2013, it was a horrible snowy January, but I managed to get to Lilleshall, and I'm sure it was Pippa Britton who led the course. I had a weekend course on disabilities and have written a 4-page handout on it as well, but that was really interesting. And then Redditch Archers got her up to one of the village halls near to Bromsgrove, and we had the same course again, which was really interesting as a refresher. but that was an excellent course.
Was that the Pass It On course, Peter?
Yes, it might have been.
Yeah, it's the one I was with you. Wasn't I with you on that one, Peter? Was I on the one before?
I haven't got any photos of you, but yes, I've got a lot of photos of.
Yeah, I was either on that one with you or the one before. It was a very good course, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the January was a horrible snowy weekend, and I wondered if I'd get up the M5, but they were all still in Birmingham, so I had a very easy trip on the M5.
Oh, well, I think I was on the one before you because there's no snow when I went up there.
Helen, on a practical note, we've actually acquired a foot locator, if that would be useful for the VI group.
Wow, great. Yeah.
Oh, I'll give it to Mark and he can bring it along.
Yes.
But
Okay.
we can't be there on the.
Yes, of course.
Sorry.
Yes, please. Yeah, no,
Thank you.
Mark can then get that back to you as well, so it's your safekeeping then. That would be fantastic. Yeah, thank you. Okay. All right, do we talk about next meeting timings and?
Yeah, I think if you haven't had a chance to fill in the expression form for the blind games, please do so. I will send an email out after the meeting of the next few days, so you can complete that at your own leisure if you want. But once we've collectively had all that information back, we are thinking of then possibly. I mean, we've got the blind games in August, so if we can arrange for the next meetup, possibly mid-July, and then we can plan for that. How does that sound?
Sounds okay.
Yeah, so we are looking at sort of mid-July, and then we can go into further discussions about the blind games timetable and you know what will be happening and how we can sort of organize that together really, and what it's going to look like on the day. Like Helen says, we have got the soft archery which will be taking place on the Thursday, and I expect we'll be there all day, I think, Helen. So
it's Friday, isn't it? It's
Friday.
Yeah,
Friday 25th.
Yeah, that is the archery finals day as well. So well, it's 11 till 2, the activation zone, where we're going to be promoting the have a go the next day. So you will probably be able to get some, get over and watch the finals in archery as well, if you want to come over and make a day of it. So yeah, we can probably do like a rota system, even though it's only 12 till 2, we can probably still do a rota system as well if we get enough helpers, so you wouldn't have to be on the stall all the time, or maybe some of us be able to circulate. So there's, by the way, there's other sports as well that are going to be in the activation zone, so they're all doing a similar thing. They're trying to make their sport kind of a smaller version, a scaled down version, just as a little bit of a taster. So there's going to be a lot of energy and a lot of people in that zone. It should be really fun.
Becky, did you want to?
Yeah, sorry, I just want to ask, are you okay for us to share that form amongst our clubs?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Yeah. Fab. Thank you.
Mean, there will be certain things that we would have to look for licensed coaches for, and then other things that we would welcome all volunteers for. So yeah, just a mixture of people, please.
Thanks.
And if people are interested in volunteering and want to do the IAP course, that would be great as well.
Yeah. And if people are interested in coach training, that would be great as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of opportunities.
Has anybody got any questions before we sort of wrap up tonight's webinar? No?
That's fine.
Well, thank you.
The IAP thing, they mentions like an e-learning book type thing.